Good evening from Los Angeles, California. I'm Dr. Ryan Ava. We have just entered the 7th week of protests in Iran, where the brave Iranian men and women, unlike anything that we have seen, at least in the recent history of this nation, are united and in one voice are shouting death to dictator and death to Khamenei. People of Iran have endured years of suffering under the fascist and barbaric regime of Islamic Republic. But now, all are in one voice that enough is enough. It is time to take back our country and restore it to its glorious days.
6 weeks in, and these protests show no sign of abating. The opposite, in fact. This is Zahedan, the scene of violent confrontation again. Independent observers claim the crackdown by security forces across Iran has killed at least 160 people. And the tactics continue to be unbearably indiscriminate.
I saw footage of a teenager, a child, shot in the head who apparently has been killed. And we haven't got the exact figures for how many people have died, how many people have been injured today. But as you said, from the footage that we saw, we can say certainly that they opened fire again with live ammunition.
What started out as a protest over the death of a young woman in custody because of how she wore her hijab is now a chaotic and increasingly deadly confrontation between some of Iran's people and its religious leaders.
Any tactic that they had used in previous rounds of protests, including in 2009 and 2017, to crack down and get people to go back home, those tactics are not working this time around. There's a wave of anger in these protests that is unlike anything I personally had ever seen. I've been reporting from Iran about protests there for years and years and years. This is unique.
Iran's military has claimed that the US was conspiring with others to spark the riots. Meanwhile, the United Nations has raised a list of issues with Iran that it's deeply worried about.
Of particular concern is information that authorities have been moving injured protesters from hospitals to detention facilities, refused to release the bodies of those killed to their families, and delivered the deceased on the condition that their families do not hold a funeral or that their families do not speak to the media.
In one protest video, verified by the news agency AFP, people are seen shouting death to the dictator. That's aimed at Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. As the demonstrations continue in various cities, international human rights campaigners say there's now a serious risk of mass killings. Robin Brandt, BBC News.
Well, with me now is Parham Gabadi from BBC Persian. Welcome to you. You've been speaking to sources inside the country. What are they telling you?
Just on the way here, I was talking to a source close to the family of Nika Shakarami, the 16-year-old who was killed in the early days of the protest, and she has become now a household name. So they've been telling me yesterday they held an event at her gravesite, and security forces started shooting at the protesters. Now I've been hearing that 60 people have actually been arrested from that memorial, and they've been taken to unknown locations. Some of these detainees are the very close relatives of Nika Shakarami, and the family is extremely concerned about the whereabouts of them. Also yesterday I managed to confirm the death of another 19-year-old bright young man. He was a chef, he was just 19, and 2 days before Mehrshad Shahidi, 2 days before his birthday, at 9 o'clock he leaves his restaurant, and then he's getting killed by severe blows to his head with baton.
So you've been covering this since the beginning. Is your sense that more than a month on, the protests are escalating across the country, and so is the response from the regime?
Definitely, it is escalating. What we've seen, this is unprecedented. We have never seen protests this long and, this widespread across the country. And it's been going on for months now, and there's no sign of it fizzling out. What we've seen actually overnight, my colleagues at BBC Persian a few hours ago, they managed to obtain videos that security forces raided a dormitory, and they're dragging students from inside the dorm, and they're calling out for help. It's really horrifying images. And across the universities and schools in Iran, and also streets, we've seen protests still going on.
Now, we've seen worldwide protests, people coming out in solidarity with what's happening in Iran, Iranians all over the world. We've also seen the US say they want to make this an issue in the UN next week. Is that making any difference?
That's correct. So it has already started in New Zealand, and at 2 I'm going to Trafalgar Square myself to cover this. And I've been there before as well. It's usually the crowd that you see there. It's unprecedented for Iranians to be disunited from all walks of life. You see Iranians united from different ethnicities. They are there and they're chanting the same slogans that people in cities like Tehran and Shiraz are chanting. Let's keep in mind that last week in Berlin we had a protest that over 100,000 people showed up, and that was, I think, one of the biggest protests. And that shows the solidarity of Iranian people, Iranian diaspora outside the country with the Iranians inside the country.
To support my work, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Also, please don't forget to hit the bell notification so you wouldn't miss any of my new videos. Thanks for watching.